What's going on, everybody? This is Raw Dog Sports. I am Mike. That is Evo. There are rich teams. There are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. Then there's us. Oh, man. I just had a banger week. We got a great show today. Ton of news to get into as it relates to football. That's a baseball quote. But we are going to talk a lot of football. There's a lot of moves. Guys getting tagged. Transition tag gets used for the first time in a very long time, especially for a quarterback. And then we're going to get into a little bit of a mock draft tonight. We're going to bang out the first round following the combine, see where things are starting to move and shake, and get this mock draft season started off right, because I have a feeling we're going to be doing quite a few of these. But my man Evo, welcome in. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to still get over my FOMO of not being able to be out there in Indianapolis with you, Jeremy Green, and the rest of the guys, Sportsocracy, and everybody. It looked like you guys had a blast. Looked exhausting for sure. Everyone seemed to be extremely tired. Early mornings, late evenings, lots of stuff going on there in Indianapolis. It looked like a hell of a time, a lot of fun, and a really cool opportunity to get in there, mingle with players, talk to people. So, if you haven't watched any of the content that has been put out there, Mike can kind of get into that and talk about all of the shows that he did with those guys, including one where we were here on the Raw Dog channel. But super excited that you got to do that. I'm excited to be here to break down football stuff, because it has been a while since we've done a show. I mean, it's only been a week really, but it's been a fucking while for me sitting here twiddling my thumbs, essentially being a commenter on a lot of these videos and stuff like that. So it's nice to jump back in here and get to talking about this stuff. And yes, this is mock draft 1.0. We don't have that long until the draft, but we do have free agency and the tampering period opening up in less than a week. A lot of stuff is about to start happening rapidly. So I'm sure I'm going to be putting out Vikings related mock drafts. You're going to be doing Browns related mock drafts. We're going to have full league mock drafts going on before too long. We've got all the players that we're going to be breaking down by position groups and things like that, which you're going to probably get to lift the skirt more than you've ever seen on this show, because Mike's got in-depth information, insider information, things like that he's been able to learn from his time out there in Indianapolis and mingling. So I'm excited to get into the show, get started with all the news, because we do have a bunch of stuff breaking over the past several days, including today, because today was the tag deadline. And a lot of players have been told, hey, you're going to be released. Several players were tagged. So it's a lot to get into. The 2026 season landscape is starting to really shape up.
It absolutely is. Hi, Max. Thanks for hopping in here, brother. I'm not sure who you are, if it's first time or been a while, but we appreciate you hopping in. And man, so my experience at the Combine was incredible. Being able to kind of rub elbows with some people that I have seen on TV and things like that was really cool. Josina Anderson was there. She is crazy short. I had no idea. Seems like a very nice woman, though. I did not really get to talk with her, but I got to meet a couple people in the Cleveland area. Jared Mueller, Dogs by Nature, SB Nation, writer there. So really, really cool guy. I got to meet the real Corey Kinnan. You can follow him at Fake Corey Kinnan. Caused a shitstorm today, by the way, as it relates to Caleb Downs. We'll probably end up talking about that. He's actually a really nice guy. I don't know why everybody gave him so much shit. He's done a lot of work to figure out the things that he's figured out. He was in that room as well for a fucking reason. So who else did I get to see? I saw Tony Grossi. I did not say anything mean to him, even though I really wanted to.
Got to talk to the GM of the Browns there, Andrew Berry.
He did, and he fucking lied to me, man. So I asked him how DeJuan was doing. DeJuan's doing well. I don't think that part is not a lie. But DeJuan, I asked if he was going to be a factor as this line got rebuilt. Well, guess what? The Browns went out and traded a 5th-round pick for a new starting right tackle. So I don't know where DeJuan's going to play because it probably ain't left tackle. They got the 4th pick in the first round. Sixth pick in the first round. Geez, I'm getting all turned around. I've done a lot of picks recently. But so they're probably going left tackle there. There's some names that are flying up the board. That we'll get to that when we get to the mock draft. But I don't think that DeJuan Jones is going to be a big factor in this line. But you know what? That's part of the game. I was very happy to be in the room. Very happy that Andrew Berry answered my question, even if it was a lie. And
what isn't a lie from these GMs at this point?
Exactly. This is lying season. Everybody is lying through their teeth unless you are the GM of the Dolphins. And then he's like, you know what? Just fucking send it. All of these dudes suck Tua's ass. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you. I'm out. Like
Tua right now is one of the few quarterbacks that we haven't heard, as far as quarterbacks that are kind of on that cusp of like, are they going to be with their team or not? We got news on Kyler today that basically if a trade doesn't materialize, he's going to be cut. The team has announced that. We know that the transition tag was applied to Daniel Jones. But between, Kirk Cousins obviously was told you're going to get your walking papers as well. Now it's just kind of Tua and Geno Smith, with the expectation still being that both of those guys are going to get cut. There's, a lot of movement on these guys. And surprisingly enough, with how open the Dolphins have been about their current roster construction and things like that, they haven't really come out directly and said what they're doing with Tua yet, at least not to any of the main media sources, your Schefters or things like that, or your Raw Dog Sports or anything. So we don't know what's going on with Tua. The assumption is just that he's not going to be a part of that roster.
Yeah, and the way the comment came out was that Tua still thinks that he's a high caliber quarterback. They don't think that. Tua does not have a future with the Miami Dolphins.
Tua himself said in his, clean out my locker room session where the media was in there, asked if he thought that a change of scenery would be a good thing, and he said yes. So, he's on board as well.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. That relationship is doomed. It's failed. It's running.
If I'm Tua, I'm completely happy with that because I'm still getting paid.
Bingo.
It's just a bitter pill to swallow for the Dolphins.
Yeah, 100%. But they earned that by giving Tua that much money. We've got to stop paying every quarterback like they are fucking franchise quarterbacks. That is how we got into this situation. Like the Danny Dimes of the world getting $50 million when they had not earned anywhere near that kind of set the precedent for this shit to happen.
Well, I guess that kind of breaks into this conversation with that transition tag being applied to Indiana Jones today. Apparently, reports started to come out more and more as the week went along that the two sides, the Colts and him, were far apart on contract numbers of what they wanted. So much so that they had originally told Alec Pierce, hey, we are going to franchise tag you because we want you to be here so that way we can work out a long-term deal with you. Which, by the way, if they were legitimately going to franchise tag Alex Pierce, who is a nice player, that's a lot of money for an Alec Pierce. And so you have to be extremely confident that you can work out a long-term deal with this guy. So I think that might have just been a little bit of bullshit anyways to begin with. But then they have to kind of walk it back and be like, well, shit, we're not getting it done with Daniel Jones right now. So we might have to use one of these tags on him, which of course they did do today. Now, I believe it's like $38.5 million is the tag price right now. And for those of you who don't understand or don't know the transition tag, it's different than a franchise tag. The franchise tag, typical franchise tag that is used is the team basically pays the player a set amount of money. And those franchise tag values came out in the last week or so, but they take an average of the top quarterbacks in the league, and that's what the player gets paid, fully guaranteed for that upcoming year. It still is on the player to sign that deal or not. And if they don't sign it, it basically tolls them. They their rights are still retained by the team that put the franchise tag on them. They just aren't playing. They aren't getting paid. So it could be a negative in that way. But a lot of times players will say, I'm not playing under that tag, to try to force their team to, give them a contract that they want. It typically doesn't completely work out. You see guys like Trey Hendrickson, like he got some more money. It didn't work out for the team. Didn't work out for him because he ended up getting hurt, unless that's what the game he was trying to play is. But either way, the transition tag is a lower number. It's the average of the top 10 paid quarterbacks in the league. That the player, if he signs that, he's with that team. However, it allows him to negotiate with other teams. And whatever team B comes up with as a contract, that contract then immediately goes to the Colts and they get an option to match it or beat it. And of course, Daniel Jones would have to agree to the deal from team B. And then that's when it goes back to the Colts and they get to decide, is that amenable to us or not? Which to me says one of two things. Either the Colts were offering him less than an average of $38.5 million per year, or they were offering him some sort of a contract that was not on the terms that he wanted as far as length. Because I feel like Daniel Jones, he did the 1 year deal there with Indiana. Obviously, he did the practice squad for a little bit with the Vikings beforehand. I think he's probably wanting to, come back from this Achilles tear and have something set up for the next 2 to 3 years, not just another single year, like a, incentive laden, something like that. He probably wants some stability. So the question is another team going to come in and offer him more than 38.5, or they're going to offer him that stability that he wants? And will the Colts be willing to match that?
Listen, that transition tag can really bite the team that puts it on them. The Browns did this famously with Alex Mack, who then went and had a deal signed that we matched, but basically there was a poison pill in the deal that could get him out because the way the deal was structured with with team fucking B. So that's one of the risks you run, because another team can swoop in and create a deal that is just completely impossible for you to fucking match. And
that's what happened with Steve Hutchinson in the Vikings, which was like the first big poison pill. They basically put something in the contract saying that his contract would be fully guaranteed if he was the highest paid player on the offensive line, I believe. And Hutchinson was a guard. Tackles still get paid more. The Vikings did not have good tackles at the time. None of their contracts would exceed what they were offering Hutchinson. However, Walter Jones was on the Seahawks, and his contract would far exceed what the Vikings had offered Hutchinson. So while the contract did go back to Seattle, Seattle would have had to have cut Walter Jones in order to even be able to compete. So that poison pill effectively negated their ability to even match the offer whatsoever. So that was, and it went to the league for arbitration, and the league was like, yeah, they fucked you.
And fucking business 101, baby. Yeah. Know what you're getting yourself into. If you want to put that transition tag on somebody, fine. But that's a dangerous game, especially with a quarterback. In this NFL, you want to risk losing a guy that maybe can take you to the playoffs. That's what Danny Dimes was showing that he was capable of doing with his Colts team. Oh, man, that's dangerous. Dangerous game for the Colts.
And it is scary. Look, I feel like I'm intimately involved in this because Daniel Jones was on my team 2 years ago. We had Sam Darnold on my team 2 years ago, and we let both of them out of the room, right? Obviously, we knew that was going to happen with Darnold. And with Daniel Jones, the team thought he was going to stay. And it turned out that he was leveraging our contract offers to go there to the Colts, where he thought that he had a better shot of starting. And so that's why the Vikings pulled their offer, because they're like, we're not going to be used as bait for this. But Daniel Jones didn't show anything when he was with the Vikings, right? He was practice squad. And obviously there was a huge amount of questions when he was going to the Colts. Is he going to be able to be a decent quarterback? And he well showed that he can do that, but still there's skepticism. They're scared. Like, he played 8 really good games this year and then had a leg injury and then an Achilles tear. And those Achilles tears, especially the older cats, they're not good their first year back. The second year is usually where you start to see them get to be a little bit more of their own normal self. And Daniel Jones isn't an injury-proof quarterback. I mean, he's had ACL tears and other things. And obviously a really tough time in New York where things didn't go well. Was this a flash in the pan for a select amount of games with the Colts, or can it be repeatable? And it's a big question to ask when you're offering a guy starting quarterback money. So it's a tough spot, I think, for everybody involved when it comes to Daniel Jones, from outside teams and the Colts. I get why they probably wanted to offer him something a little bit lower than what he was looking for. But this is a quarterback needy league. There's a lot of teams out there looking for quarterbacks, mine included, where people could be offering him north of that $40 million a year.
Oh man, I don't know. Daniel Jones should just stay. Should be happy that he's getting that again. Like, obviously, the quarterback market has exploded, so there is money out there, and with the salary cap going up as much as it did, I'm sure he's looking. Man, I can get another long term, big payday. That Colts team was pretty fucking good though. They were starting to figure something out. I know that people want to make as much money as they can. If I'm Daniel Jones, I think his best option though is staying in Indy and kind of reviving his career as long as he can come back from the injury. That's the path that he was on. So if I'm him, I'm not leaving regardless. But then again, somebody comes throwing $50 million a year in my fucking face. I'm going to have a hard time saying no.
Yeah, I get it. I'm trying to scroll through here and see actually what the franchise tag number is, because if I'm the Colts, I almost feel like sitting there and giving him the franchise tag to just have this done and over with might have been the play. Like, it's a tough pill to swallow for this 1 year. But
that was a good one, Derpy.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw it pop up and I saw you smiling, so I knew you were going to get to it here.
Yeah.
But it might have been worth just, again, swallowing that pill for 1 year to know that you got the guy. And then if he does end up playing towards the end of this year, looking good again, then we can start having legitimate conversations about him earning $50 million a year for a long-term basis.
Oh.
Franchise tag for a quarterback, $43.8 million. So $5 million more than what the transition tag is. I feel like you're squabbling over $5 million here, where if you're the Colts and you can't work out that deal, just lock it down. Just lock him down for the year.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game. The transition tag is not something that I think teams should use. It doesn't help them. Honestly, it kind of feels like it puts almost all the power in the player's hands. So for the player, like, if you can go out there and negotiate a deal that gets you fucking out of wherever you want to be, there will be teams that can help you do that. I guarantee it. There was been proven to be done in the past. We were just talking about it in one instance.
Blood in the water, and teams will get creative.
Yep. They do not care. But I want to go back to something from the combine. I had an opportunity to talk with young man Eli Heidenreich from Navy. And, I don't think a lot of people know this, but Marine officers also come from the Naval Academy. The Marines fall underneath the Navy.
Yeah. This is definitely more common for us as service members.
Right.
The Marines are the younger brother of the Navy. So they all come from that same tree.
The younger, more autistic version of the Navy is the Marines.
Yeah. Instead of we are sailors, we sail boats. We like water. And I like purple. Yeah. Purple is my queen.
But listen, I love Marines. I love them to death. If you ever want to fucking go out and you want to have a good time, go out with Marines.
This is a barstool hat, spitting chiclets.
Nice. But I had an opportunity to talk to him. I asked him, some introductory questions. Hey, the first question I asked, I have not posted yet. But the question that got posted caused a little bit of an uproar for a couple of people on the socials. And I would like to read those comments. So if you're unaware, the question that I asked Eli being that he is branching into the Marines, I wanted to know if he had a fucking favorite crayon yet. Feels like it's a pretty important role.
Flavor of crayon.
I didn't even ask him that, did I? I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was favorite flavor of crayon.
I think it was just what's your favorite crayon. I didn't even be a complete dick because I was worried that he might take it the wrong way. Like some of the people on the internet might have. Well, one guy, this comment I love. Marine Corps veteran here. Only thing we eat in the Corps is gunpowder and pussy. That guy's badass. And that's the true fucking Marine right there.
Uh-huh. Get to the liberal white women.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a liberal white woman. Gentlemen, this is one of the funnier. When I get to the end, is the funniest part. Pathetic question. I served 25 years in the Corps and would have bitch slapped you. You soft-handed electric bike riding POS. Hashtag no respect. Hashtag Harley Davidson. Hashtag Marine Corps. I don't know why Harley Davidson's in there, but this guy needs to go to therapy.
He showed that he is a Marine.
Yeah.
That's why you're a Marine, not in the Navy, sir.
Man, it was a joke, guys. It's a joke between service members. I don't listen. Maybe the older generation of people, because I'm pretty sure that's who this is. They didn't do that shit. But the GWAT generation of veterans, we're kind of dicks to each other on purpose. And we all have kind of come to the agreement that it's okay.
Yeah. Look, it is something that we have said before and something we stand by. As veterans, shit talking is one of our love languages. If we ain't shit talking, we don't like you. All right? Like that is part of our love language, is part of our credo. So if it offends anybody, we are very happy for that, because it's okay to be offended. And it brings out the best of people and the worst, but it brings out the realness.
Oh man, but thank you to the people who did check that video out, especially the Marines that left some comments. Go out there, get you some gunpowder and pussy, and maybe a little bit of therapy.
Yeah, look, it's a different generation, I guess. I don't know.
That's all right. You know what? I had fun. I had a great time. Eli took it well, and I cannot wait to see what happens.
He enjoyed it.
He looked like he was having a good time.
Yeah. Look, you got to put yourself in that young man's position as well. He's getting grilled left and right. Politically charged type of fucking football questions. And he gets a softball, a fun one to break the ice a little bit and break the having to have your asshole clenched the entire time to make sure you don't say something stupid. Right. Like, that's what I would want if I'm up on the podium. Have some fun with me.
Listen, that's where I went as well. I had an opportunity to ask a lot of questions as it related to the military. Like there were guys that did charities, Mission 22, Drew Aller. I had a one-on-one chance with Carson Beck, who, by the way, I'm rooting for that kid no matter what now. And it's not because he took the time and stopped to answer my question, because he didn't have to do that. His dad is prior service, I think 29 years. And, he's leaving from Radio Row to head over to like Rich Eisen, who was doing a show right behind us. This fucking dude, I was trying to not nerd out so hard. Mm-hmm. But he's walking through and I'm like, hey man, can I ask you a question? And he took the time and stopped. But beyond that, this kid went out and competed his ass off at the combine while these piece of shit Indiana Hoosier fans are in the stands booing him after Indiana beat him in the national championship. It was fucking absurd, dude. Like, I understand you are a fan of your team. They cheered Fernando like a motherfucker when he walked in that building. It was cool, but don't do the opposite. Like, you won. This kid's not even in college anymore. Move past it. Like, it was absurd. It pissed me off. I hope Carson does good things.
It's weird that it came from the Indiana fans because, again, it is like we beat you and now we're going to boo you again for it. If it was like the Georgia fans being upset that he left to go to Miami or something like that, like, again, I don't promote booing a guy while he's at the scouting combine because that just is fucking soft.
Yeah,
But
get the fans out of there.
but I mean, like, you don't have a good reason for it at all. No decorum.
Yeah, fucking Indiana fans, man.
Yeah.
Act like you've been. Well, you know what? That's the thing. They can't act like they've fucking been there before. They've never fucking been there before. They were terrible. So they got to learn how to win too. Learn from the basketball team. They were good.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah, but with that, the franchise tag deadline was today, 4 p.m. Eastern time. 4 players were tagged, including Daniel Jones with that transition tag. But we also had George Pickens, Kyle Pitts, and Breece Hall, which was a little bit more of a surprise, I believe, on the Breece Hall front. Now, figured Pickens was going to happen. Kind of figured Pitts was going to happen. What do you think about Breece Hall getting this franchise tag from the Jets? And is that actually going to work out? Because we talked about it. It's still up to the player whether or not they sign that tag or not. I know that he's been on social saying something about betting on himself and whatnot. Do you think that he's going to sign that tender, or do you think that he's hoping that someone's going to trade for him? Because I feel like that's got to be the Jets' motive as well, as hoping like this. The relationship seemed fractured. They almost traded him last year. There's incredible reports that the Chiefs were like on the doorstep ready to trade for him, and it didn't go through. Do you think that that's just the Jets' play is tag trade?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think it is, man. I believe that they're going to tag him, which they have done. He'll sign the tag because here's the thing: I don't believe he can be traded if he hasn't signed a tag and all of that. So there's nothing
Correct.
they can do with him. It's either he sits out or he signs the tag and hopes to be traded. The
And I think that
relationship has not been good.
He would probably like if it's going to be a tag and trade, he won't sign that tender until the trade has already been worked out.
100%.
And that gives him a little bit of the leverage as well to say, oh, I don't know, shitty team X wants to trade for me. I really don't want to play there either, so I'm just not going to sign my tenders still.
I feel like this might be at me, and I'll take it.
Look, Derpy's been coming at it with the correct energy.
Yes,
he has. Talking, and we like the shit talking. We're all about it.
Oh, Kyle Schwarber. I think Kyle Schwarber might be from Ohio too. But you know what? I'll take that over Fat AJ McCarron.
I mean, you did get long lost relative of the Kelsey brothers as well.
Oh yeah. I mean that has been kind of a thing. We're definitely gonna have to do like a Halloween episode where we change all of our shit to be like New Heights from Wish or something.
Am I gonna have to get a Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift jersey or something?
Something like that. We'll figure it out. That's a long ways away.
A lot of chains.
A lot of chains.
2 chains.
Where the fuck were we?
We were talking about the franchise tagged players and the Jets probably trading.
Oh, yeah. So listen, yeah, I can't imagine that they're gonna get a long-term deal worked out. The Jets are in a bad spot. Like they're gonna probably go defense. We'll get into the mock draft here pretty shortly, but they're probably going defense. They have no quarterback on this team yet. Their quarterback will probably be released in about a week when Kyler Murray is cut by the Cardinals. So I can't imagine that he's going to want to stick around, especially with how bad the relationship got already. So if he can find anything out there where a team would be willing to trade for him, he's going to hold off and he's going to try to get that deal done. And then I will sign and trade and you guys can get compensation. But I can't see anybody sitting out. The Le'Veon Bell sitting out a whole year thing, I think is an aberration. I can't see that happening very often.
Yeah. So with Hall getting this tag, who do you think is the most likely suitor for him? I know, again, I brought up the Chiefs and they are very running back needy. Some of the intel that was received there at the combine by the Patriots was that the Chiefs are aggressively going to be looking for a running back. the initial thought was being Jeremiah Love, but with the performance that he had at the combine and just how good of a year that he's had, him dropping all the way to pick number 9 is definitely a question. So the Chiefs might not be able to sit back and wait and hope that he makes it to pick number 9. They might need to look into this free agent market or possibly a trade for Breece Hall in order to make sure that they do secure a running back going forward. And then if Jeremiah Love were to fall to them at 9, still, it's not the worst thing to have 2 good running backs on your team. So do you think the Chiefs are one of the best suitors here, or who else do you think could really be in play for Breece Hall?
I really think the Chiefs want to go and get a running back out of this class, and I think that it's going to be Jeremiah Love. If they have to move up, I think they would rather give up capital for Jeremiah Love than give up capital for a Breece Hall. Jeremiah Love, I'm pretty sure, is the apple of every team's eye who is searching for a running back. Now, I think there is an option that could be had later in the first round, but the Chiefs are going to try to pick a premium player, a blue chip player, while they have that opportunity. They don't draft this high almost ever. So if they have to give up a little bit of capital to move up and go get a guy and a Jeremiah Love, I think they will. If for some reason Jeremiah Love isn't there, they could maybe stay pat and go with another guy and Caleb Downs that maybe starts to fall, considering some of the medical news that might be coming out,
Yeah. Well, one thing to note about this Chiefs team,
go ahead.
They only have 6 picks.
Yeah.
In this class, including that first round pick, which would obviously be a part of that trade up. So it could be difficult for them to make that move without moving into future draft capital. 2027 right now obviously is well off in the future, but it is seen as a very stacked draft class.
I think they'd have to give up a very similar level of capital, though, to go out and get a Breece Hall in a trade. They probably have to give up a little bit more, considering that they're at 9 right now. They could move up to 5 or 6 with the Browns, and they probably wouldn't cost them as much as it would cost them to go get a Breece Hall.
Yeah, potentially. Now, you did bring up Caleb Downs and some of the news coming out about him, some potentially degenerative issues and things like that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what has been put out there with Caleb?
So my understanding is that during some of the medicals that it didn't check out perfectly for Caleb. He's got a little bit of, I guess, wiggle and possibly some degenerative ACL.
I think I heard something about even like a partial tear in the knee.
Tear, and I believe it was meniscus. There was a lot of pieces of knee talked about, but my understanding is that sometimes things like this pop up. They're small. Some teams it matters to, some teams it doesn't, depending on the severity of it. Some teams have said that for them will not matter at all because Caleb Downs is that type of player, and it doesn't appear to be that bad. Some people are much more hesitant to bring in a guy with possible long-term issues that will, derail his career. So there is a worry, I'm sure, from Caleb's camp that this news will slide him down. I don't know how far that he was. I don't know how high he was going to go anyways, considering the way that the combine and Senior Bowl went for some of these edge rushers and other guys. Like, there's some motherfuckers that made themselves some money. And Caleb did fine. He didn't do anything to hurt himself. There were dudes at the combine who elevated themselves probably above Caleb because he's playing at a non-premium position at safety. Even a running back, I think, is a higher premium because the ball's in his hand. So his positional value is not good. I mean, Kyle Hamilton fell all the way to 14. So
yeah, Kyle Hamilton, Derwin James, those guys falling as far as they did should be a tell to teams that just because the positional value isn't as high, you shouldn't pass up on guys who are going to be potentially generational. And that's what Caleb Downs is kind of imbued at. He's been the number 1, 2, 3 best player in this class. And I don't think that that's something that people should be weighing the positional value in as much, which is why it's surprising to see how far he does kind of fall in a lot of mock drafts. It'll be interesting with ours today to see how far we let him go. But obviously those knee concerns are a concern, but and you'll know better. Just, he wasn't with Ohio State for super long, but has he had injury issues, concerns being there?
Not really. No, Caleb's been pretty good. You only time that you really hear anything about Caleb is when he's making a play. Like, I have not heard one instance where he was hurt, couldn't play, banged up, fucking no off. Like, he's been the perfect fucking player since he's been on campus. Now, I don't know why his medicals are coming back this way. Maybe there is some sort of, I mean, when you play football, there's fucking wear and tear. Maybe there's some wear and tear, but I can't imagine watching him play. That wear and tear is just going to throw him off a cliff because he is so good. Like, his instincts are so good. I don't know. I don't know that it should matter. For some teams it will. Some teams it won't.
It also goes to say that we are in silly season right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past teams to be like, oh yeah, like our medicals on this guy. We saw a little something to try to add a little bit to this guy potentially dropping. All credit to the reporters who have put out the information. I'm sure they've double, triple checked, sourced from multiple areas, because if you ever run with a single source piece of intel, you have to be extremely confident in your source for it. But most reporters will, get multiple sources. So there's probably multiple teams that would love to see Caleb Downs drop a little farther in the draft than what his actual value is in this class. I wouldn't put it past some dirty talk being strung out there in order to try to sabotage a little bit, especially for it to happen after the combine, when teams have already done their medicals, and then they, like, a GM has to go to their medical staff now and be like, hey, did you guys see anything? Can we get a chance to recheck this just to double check and make sure? And you're talking about a limited amount of teams up here at the top that would probably be looking at having a chance to get the guy. Like, if it slipped by them or something like that, or they think it did, maybe it could hurt the guy's reputation a little bit. But we won't know. We won't know how credible these reports are until the guy gets in the league and plays for a while, and we'll see if injuries do come up or not.
Listen, I don't know Corey, asshole from Elbow. Just met the man. He seemed pretty fucking genuine when I talked to him. Seemed like a good dude to me. I don't know why he would make this shit up. And I've seen a lot of the work, so I have no reason to doubt it. I just hope it doesn't matter. I think that's kind of the point, right? If it is there, who gives a shit? Hopefully it won't make a difference. Hopefully he plays for a long time and is as good as everybody thinks he is. That's the hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other franchise tag news for people who didn't get tagged. Kenneth Walker was expected to possibly be tagged or at least re-signed by his team, and a re-signing is still on the table for sure for Kenneth Walker. Also, Trey Hendrickson did not get tagged for another year, so he will be walking.
Dude, the Bengals are going to get absolutely nothing for Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. There's so many times, so many opportunities to have traded this guy over the past several years, and his value is going to be doing nothing but going down every time that you overlook those trade opportunities. He's 31, 32 years old, which isn't young and fresh. He's coming off of an injury. How bad that injury is, who knows, because he might have played it up a little bit to just continue not playing for that team. The Bengals really bungled this.
Yeah, it was terrible. I like the way you did the Bengal bungle.
The Bengal bungle. It's a classic tradition. Yeah. Also, my Minnesota Vikings have put out some information. Aaron Jones expected to be released. Javon Hargrave expected to be released. Both people that were expected to be released at this point. But also news comes out today that they are open to trading Jonathan Grenard, their edge rusher, outside linebacker, who I think is awesome. He's excellent. He was a little bit injured last year. He's due $19 million this year and next year, and we do have salary cap issues and concerns. So moving on from him was always a possibility, especially with Dallas Turner being there and really stepping up by the end of the year last year. I hope that we can do something as far as working out a way to keep him in-house. That being said, for an edge rusher of his talent, previous season 2024, he was top 10 as far as an edge rusher, really talented player. The talks are that if someone comes in with a good enough offer, which we're talking around a second-round pick range for him, that they would be willing to possibly move on for him to get some of that salary cap relief, and that would theoretically create a hole because Brian Flores likes to use a lot of pass rushers, and taking one of those starters off the field would be an issue for us. I'd be sad to see him go, but I understand the business side of it.
I'm surprised that Grenard would be on the block. He's really good for you guys. Yeah. That surprises me. Because you guys don't have a ton of picks either, do you?
Oh, we got picks.
This year you got picks?
Yeah, they haven't announced the comp picks yet this year, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, depending on how the comp picks come out, the Vikings will have between 9 and 10 picks this year.
Okay. All right. So you guys, all right. And the edge rusher class is an interesting class. A lot of guys moving after the measurements came out this week. My man, do we have any other news before we start hopping into this mock draft?
No, not really. The other big one today was Kyler Murray basically getting his wish granted that he is going to get released if a trade doesn't materialize. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, a trade's not going to materialize. We have talked a lot of shit about Kyler on this podcast. Call of Duty and Kyler Murray are synonymous talking points on this podcast. All right. There's been word from other players who have gone to their teams and said, I played with him before. You don't want him, that he's not a leader. A lot of the same things that we have echoed. I don't think that he's a great leader. I think that he can be electric with the ball in his hands. He's had some near MVP seasons, but he's also injured a lot. He's a guy that doesn't seem to play in structure. He is very short, which means you kind of have to move him out of the pocket in order to allow him to see the field and do the special things with his legs, which have been reduced because of those injuries. And if you look at his history with the Cardinals, I believe that they have more losses with him as a starter than they do wins. And that's not just this year where he got replaced by Jacoby Brissett. That's through his history with the Cardinals. So obviously wins aren't completely a quarterback stat, but they get tied there a lot. The interesting thing with Kyler Murray as well is that he's still in his late 20s, one of the youngest quarterbacks that's going to be hitting the market. And he's got offset language in his contract. So you're going to be able to bring him in at an absolute bargain. We're talking vet minimum, $1 million, something like that for this year, because the rest of that money is going to get ate up by the Cardinals. So all these quarterback needy teams out there, including my Vikings, it's being postulated about him going to all these places. The top two spots probably that are being talked about are the Vikings and the Jets. Which obviously brings me into the conversation. I'm a little bit scared about that because I don't want Kyler Murray on my team. I think
you have Kyler Murray on the team already, but he's 6 inches taller.
I mean, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, they're not that dissimilar. They're both erratic, can get out of the pocket, run, and but JJ's 6 inches taller.
That's true. That's true. I still have higher hopes for JJ. I know I'm in the very vast minority for that these days.
I'm not saying that he can't get better, but where they're at right now,
it's true. This is true. But just from a schematic standpoint, I don't like the fit. I don't know that he plays within structure, which is one of the big things for Kevin O'Connell. He wants in structure. Kyler doesn't throw towards the middle of the field well. Kevin O'Connell wants a guy who can throw over the middle of the field. I think that he's not going to have the leadership qualities that Kevin O'Connell wants out of a starting quarterback. I just don't really like the fit too much. For me personally, I think it's Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins. Those are the top two options. I would lean towards the latter based off of familiarity to the system. The fact that he hopefully will come in at a cheaper contract number than what he's gotten in the past, because there's not an offset language issue with Kirk Cousins. He's still going to be getting paid, but he can get paid more. And you know how Kirk likes that money. And I think also Kirk has probably had a little bit of a moment of, I'm 38 years old. My next career is on the horizon. I don't need to be the guy who gets upset about having to compete. I want someone who's going to be able to go in there and actually compete with JJ McCarthy. And if they win over JJ McCarthy, I'm completely okay with that. I don't want there to be a situation where there isn't a competition, which I think that happens with a Kyler. That happens if we go after Daniel Jones, which was, again, put out there today by Peter Schrager, that he thinks that the Vikings will be one of the top players for that transition tagged Daniel Jones. I don't want us to trade for Mac Jones, because the second to possibly late first round value type pick for him just does not make sense to me. He played decent there with San Fran, but he's not worth that sort of a pick, in my opinion. And I don't think that San Fran is going to move off of him unless there's a sweetheart deal. Geno Smith last year wasn't great. The years before in Seattle were a lot better. He was the number 4 deep passer in the league in his last year with Seattle. There's going to be a lot of sacks and a lot of interceptions, but he can throw the ball, which is something that Kevin O'Connell wants. And I think that if JJ McCarthy progresses, he's someone that he can compete with and possibly beat. Same with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, we know what he is. We know that he can put out high volume. Doesn't have the mobility, but he's very familiar with the system and probably would be the odds-on favorite to win the starting job. But as far as the quarterback competition in Minnesota goes, those are my top 2 guys that I would be interested in. Not that I'm super interested in anybody in this crop, and that's not just because I'm a JJ McCarthy fan. It's because this is just not a great time to need a quarterback, both through the draft or free agency.
2027 is the year you need to have a quarterback. This is not a great year to need a quarterback unless you are the team picking at the top of the draft. And with that, my man, let's hop into that mock draft, because we're about 45 minutes in and we're going to have to knock this bad boy out. We're not rushing. We want to give the people what they came for. Yeah, fuck Russians. Anyways, Evo, since my team is picking, has 2 picks on the even slots, I'm going to pick the evens. You're going to pick the odds. When we get to the Vikings pick, though, I'm going to cede that to you so you can make the pick for your team.
All righty, sounds good. We can definitely still have a conversation about it there, and I'm sure we'll have a conversation about most of these picks. But with that, we'll start our mock draft 1.0 for Raw Dog Sports. I am on the clock with the Raiders, and Fernando Mendoza is the pick. Can this pick be traded? Yes, I would put it at around a 5% chance, and that would be the Jets having to come in with that sweetheart offer. We're talking both their first-round picks this year, a first-round pick at least next year. The Jets would have to be really, really in on Mendoza. I don't think that it's going to be enough for them to do that, to go switch with the Raiders. So Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall, let's put it in stone right now.
Yeah, this is virtually a lock. Fernando Mendoza is the only quarterback, in my opinion, that is worth drafting in the first round. And he's not necessarily a high first round type quarterback. There's a ton of quarterback needy teams. They got to take him here. You don't pick number 1 all that often. And if there's only one quarterback, that's got to be the guy. This is the only one that makes sense to me. Moving on to the second pick of this mock draft. Jets are on the clock, and they're going edge rusher. Now, the question is, what edge rusher are they going? Arvell Reese had a hell of a combine. David Bailey had a hell of a combine. Sonny Styles had a hell of a combine, but he's not a true edge. Reuben Bain had a really tough combine, and it's not that anything that he could do about it. He didn't interview poorly. He was fine in his media event. Did fine in the drills. However, he has T-Rex arms, and that's going to prevent some teams from wanting to take him. So at this spot, you're looking at Reuben Bain, who before the combine, people were like, that's the guy. That's number one edge rusher. Coming out of the combine, I don't think that's the case. I think the Gents are leading towards David Bailey. I believe that Jeremy is hoping that that is where the Jets are leaning as well. I'm going to stick with David Bailey here. He had an outstanding combine, good scheme fit. And if you look at it, production has been through the roof no matter where he's been. So, I mean, the kid can play. Kid balls. So that's the pick. David Bailey going to the Jets.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially with the moves that the Jets and the Titans made. They made a trade. You obviously already did a deep dive with the Sportsocracy guys about this. Tavondre Sweat making his way to New York and then shipping off Jermaine Johnson who was a Bob Saleh player out there to the Titans. Makes a lot of sense that now the Jets will look to retool a little bit there to go alongside Will McDonald. They're going to get an edge rusher. I think it's 100% going to be David Bailey or Arvell Reese. The question is, do you want the guy that can kind of come in day one, step in and be, I don't want to say elite, but getting up to that Pro Bowl or all pro type of level in short time? Or do you want the guy that has potentially that higher upside, but might need more development? Because he hasn't been much of a true edge rusher in Arvell Reese. He's got a little bit more flexibility with being able to drop back as a linebacker than a David Bailey. And I agree. I think David Bailey makes the most sense here for the Jets because they shouldn't be honey-dicking around trying to find a guy to min-max here. You are maximizing. It's not really much of a minimum with David Bailey, and you're getting a super solid player there. Next up, I'm picking for the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals with a lot of needs. It'll be interesting to see what LaFleur, the other LaFleur, does with this team. But to me, you don't know who you have at quarterback, and you have a lot of question marks on defense. You're not going to be getting a quarterback in this draft, and the Cardinals might be players who are Jimmy Garoppolo, apparently, who was a LaFleur guy from his time with the Rams. They might be trying to make a play for a Malik Willis. It doesn't really matter who is playing quarterback. You need to have that quarterback standing up. And so you need an offensive lineman for that. So that's where my focus is going at here. And I'm going to go with my top guy on the board. That's Francis Mauigoa. I think that he can play guard. I think that he can play tackle. I think it doesn't matter which. He's going to be extremely good at both of those spots. So they have a lot of questions along that offensive line. He'll fit in one way or another out there in Arizona.
Mauigoa, I was at his media avail. Man, big motherfucker, dude. He talked about, the idea of him possibly moving in to guard. He actually asked for some reps to make sure that, he was good to go. He could do it. So he's okay with the idea of playing wherever. I think he's going to be a really good right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason that this kid shouldn't be a really good right tackle. That there was maybe some worries about measurements coming in. No worries after the combine. Everything checked out exactly as you would like. He is perfect along the right side. You just keep him over there. He will maul people in the run game, and he's really good at fucking pass blocking. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, he will fail inward and probably be an all-pro guard. So,
yeah, upside of Penei Sewell type of player here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So with the fourth pick, then Titans on the clock, and they're very happy. The guy that they want is sitting right there. Arvell Reese, multiple new head coach, defensive head coach, is going to have all sorts of fun moving Arvell Reese all around that defense. Arvell Reese is the pick, and Bob Saleh is going to be very, very happy.
Yeah, getting Jermaine Johnson in there and Arvell Reese with that ability to, again, kind of drop back into more of a linebacker role or play on the line. The multiple positions that he can play is something that Saleh looks for. Also, they just need all the pass rush help that you can get out there. You can go so many ways with the Titans, but when you have an Arvell Reese on the board, who's a guy that's being talked about as potentially going as high as 2, yeah, it's an easy pick there to take Arvell Reese. All righty. Next up, New York Giants. I'm on the clock, and I'm looking at kind of two spots here. Defense makes a lot of sense here. I believe that you're on the last mock draft that you were with. Kenyon Sadiq went here.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk a little bit more about Kenyon Sadiq when we get to him, because I'm sure that he's going to go in this first round.
100%.
I've been talking about Sadiq for a long time, and I've been a fan of his. And while his workout was absolutely impressive, I think I might be lower on him still than a lot of other people out there as far as going this high. A Sadiq fan, but not a Sadiq at 5 fan. I do like the idea of putting more offensive weapons around Jackson Dart. I like the idea of possibly, if Amau and Noah was here, helping to shore up that offensive line, because you need to keep Dart as upright as possible, and hopefully they work out some of the issues with him trying to get concussions all the time. So I am looking at a Carnell Tate here, because I think that he's the best receiver in this class. After the weird stuff coming out about Mekhi Lemon, which does scare me a little bit.
Bro, I'll go ahead and finish your pick.
And Tyson, who I think could be the best wide receiver in this class if you didn't have injury concerns. The one that I don't have any concerns about is Carnell Tate. Like, the talk about him running a slower 40 time doesn't bother me at all. One, it looks like the time was a little bit off because he rocked before, starting that run, which added, I believe they're estimating around 0.7 seconds. So that makes a huge difference. But I think that this guy's like the next Chris Carter, who is number 1 on most teams. And you pair him with a Malik Neighbors, like that's a super, super dangerous combo. But I am actually going to go a different direction. This is where Caleb Downs goes. This is the Kyle Hamilton on this defense. They need help on that defense. This is a very good receiver class. It's a very good safety class too, but there's only one Caleb Downs. He is potentially a generational player. So I'm going Caleb Downs for the New York Giants here.
I was not expecting Caleb Downs here. This is a little high because of the positional value. Like, seeing safety go at 5, he had better be generational, right? I love the player. I think that he could be a really nice piece on that defense. I thought you were going to end up with going maybe a Sonny Styles here, considering the combine he had in the way that Harbaugh could use those linebackers. But I gotta say, I don't hate this idea.
Styles used to play safety, but you don't really have too many 6'5" safeties out there. The thing with Caleb Downs, again, Harbaugh saw what Hamilton did. He saw how Hamilton dropped into his lap, and he doesn't want to have to hope for that to happen again with another player. Kyle Hamilton reshaped a big part of that defense for him. I think there's a lot of good defenders on this Giants team already, and I don't think it's that far off. But you're putting in a guy who has the potential to be a generational style player. To me, it's like Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs are like my number 1 and 2 guys in this draft. So while, yes, you could go out and get a Carnell Tate, and I think he's going to be fantastic, because it's tough to talk myself off of that ledge with a Carnell Tate. I know that I can get guys in the second round that I'm really going to like. And I do already have a number 1 on my team. So I don't have a Carnell Tate on my team. Or excuse me, I don't have a Caleb Downs.
Damn right you don't.
You don't have either of them, but you got a Caleb Downs now. Man,
yes, you do.
Value be damned.
Listen, I'm here for it. I understand the connection and why they would want to go with a player like that, considering all of the positives that they saw come from Kyle Hamilton. That moves on to pick 6. Cleveland Browns' first pick of the first round. They have gone out. They have made a trade for what appears to be their new starting right tackle. This could be another offensive lineman. There's a lot of movement on one name this week. Monroe Freeling has been flying up draft boards. I was able to get him in the Sportsocracy mock draft at 24. I went early with Carnell Tate at 6. And then I was able to get this kid at 24. with everything that has happened over the last week, I don't believe that's going to be the case. This kid is flying up everybody's draft board. Everybody's talking about this kid measured fucking exceptional. And then you also have the Georgia connection here with him being a Georgia guy and fucking Todd Monken. So I think that Freeling is definitely in play at this spot, but I'm not doing that. Give me motherfucking Carnell Tate. Give me the guy that can go up and get a ball, go fucking win a jump ball. Give me somebody that Shedeur can just literally fucking throw up a prayer, because every guy needs one of those. Matthew Stafford became Matthew Stafford because he had fucking Megatron. When you build that confidence that your dude will go get it, you become a better fucking player. Now, Stafford obviously balls, but every guy, every quarterback that has a dude like this has an upward trajectory. And if they don't, they're not an NFL player. Period. We'll figure it out real quick. Give me Carnell Tate, even though I think there's a possibility that tackle and Freeling are in play here when the real draft comes around.
So that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to take Carnell Tate there, is to put you in that little bit of a situation where you got to decide. And I assumed that it was going to be this way. And I don't disagree. Like, I like Freeling. I do. I think that this is post-combine hype. He is maybe a fringe first-round guy to me. I think he needs a lot more development, but I don't have him that far away from some other guys like a Blake Miller. And so that's why I'm not like buying all this steam that he's going to go as high as he's going. And I think it's also because there's hopes that it will push some of these other guys down, because there's very few blue chip type prospects in this draft. There's very few guys who are considered like true first round picks in this draft. A lot of guys I like, but not true first round picks. I think Freeling going this high, top 10 at all, is overblown right now. And it's that hangover from the combine where everyone's like, who made these huge moves? And some guys did. I don't know that Freeling did. I think that he's a good prospect, but he still needs a decent amount of work. Carnell Tate, however, is a plug and play like that immediately. There's questions about Jerry Jeudy and everything, but I think if Jerry Jeudy comes out and has the right mindset, it makes him better. Like, he doesn't have to be the guy. And when he does decide to play at that number one style receiver level, which seems to be sporadic, like when he's playing the Broncos, you're going to get the best out of a Jerry Jeudy and a Carnell Tate, and it's going to be gangbusters. But the thought of Carnell Tate, Jerry Jeudy, and Fannin all out there is a very nice trio of receiving options for whoever ends up playing quarterback there long term.
I absolutely agree, man. I feel like it should. When you're talking about the first round picks in this class, there are not that many guys that are first round grades. I don't know that Freeling is a first round guy. He's been being thrown up boards. Now, listen, he didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing bad about what he did. Measured incredibly well. But I can tell you, from when I immediately was starting to hear about this kid, went and looked, one thing jumps off tape to me immediately. He's really good at mirroring, but he oversets. He will get beat inside because he will overset. That is the problem, unless Georgia's doing it on purpose, unless that's part of their scheme. It looks like it happens all fucking time. I think he's going to be a good player, but I think 6 is too high. Well, at this point, he's going to continue to climb, I think. The momentum has already started.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
don't know what's going to derail it.
Absolutely possible. It would have to be people like, let's be real. The scouts, their thoughts on him aren't changing that much from what they were going into the combine.
Correct.
Like, for most guys, the only thing that they can do going into the combine is hurt themselves. This is media trying to play catch up. And also they have to build in stories in between now free agency and the draft on some of these guys of who the big movers and shakers are. Because if everyone just came into the combine and stuck at what position they were supposed to be at, then no one pays attention to the combine anymore, right? Again, this doesn't want to. I don't want it to come off as me disparaging Freeling. I like him as a late first, early second type of prospect, and that's where I had him coming into the combine, and that's kind of where I still have him sitting. Tackles get pushed up a little bit higher because of that positional need, and that's why I think that he could raise maybe up into a little bit in like the 20 type range or something like that for the draft. But I'm not buying that other stuff about him going this high. Now, when it comes to Carnell Tate at this pick, it obviously seems like a match made in heaven. I would say the preferred thing I think for the Browns would be to get that offensive lineman like a Maui Noah. I don't care about Titus Howard going there. Yes, he was the best player on that Texans offensive line, but I don't want to look a Maui Noah in the face when Maui Noah could play guard too and let that go. Let the two of them fight it out. Put the best players on the field. You don't really have an option with your offensive line right now with it being kind of ragtag as is with all the players basically leaving. Like I would go with that because at your next pick, you're probably going to have your choice of another really good receiver in that spot. In most of the mock drafts I've seen where Carnell Tate hasn't been taken with your pick and you guys go offensive lineman, when you get to your second pick, there's usually one of those top receivers there.
Boston
with the worst one being
sitting there.
Boston's the worst out of the group. And I think Boston is still a really good receiver. He's the best run blocking receiver in the class. And also statistically, the best man coverage receiver in the draft because he's big. He's able to go up and snatch balls away. He's aggressive like that. He might not have the high end athleticism or anything, but he is a good go ball type of jump ball receiver. So it'll be interesting to see when we get through this a little bit further, which I know we're dragging along right now, but we got to talk about this Browns pick. It'll be interesting to see when we get to your next pick, what other receivers are around that spot and could have been available to if we went with an offensive lineman. Next up here for the Washington Commanders, I'm not going to take anyone's time. I've seen a little bit of stuff about Jeremiah Love possibly going there, and I think that this is a spot where we can really start to look at Jeremiah Love. That being said, I'm going Sonny Styles. I like Sonny Styles for this defense. Partner up with Bobby Wagner, who's going to be playing another year, sounds like. And Dan Quinn wants his defensive guys, wants to be multiple, wants to get younger on that side of the ball, which is one of their big problems this year. They weren't young. So Sonny Styles, I like the fit here.
But Sonny Styles is a great player. I think he will also be really good with Dan Quinn. This is a perfect fit. And I don't know that anybody would be upset about this. I think everybody in Washington would be happy. Sonny would be happy. So, yeah, I like this fit as well. Moving on to the 8th pick, Saints on the clock here.
Let me remind you that Jeremy Green said that he had heard things that the Saints are not going in a direction that people expect.
Yeah.
And right now, one of the leading things out there is that if Jeremiah Love is available, he tends to get picked there.
Yeah.
To an extent. But I caution teams that if you are not in a good spot, particularly if you're in a bad spot as far as your overall roster construction, which we saw some good things from the Saints last year, but they still are far from being a good roster, in my opinion. You look at the Raiders. Ashton Jeanty going there seemed a little bit more of a luxury because he didn't have a fantastic year. We didn't get what we wanted out of him as a top 10 pick. Maybe you get that here in a couple years, but then his rookie contract's up and he's got a lot more wear on him. Now you're having to decide, do you want to re-sign him? It's the same thing with the Jeremiah Love going here to the Saints, in my opinion, is, yeah, you got Kamara there and he's an easy one-for-one replacement. And I think that we'd see a lot better out of Jeremiah Love this year with the Saints than we did with a Jeanty on the Raiders last year. But also, just with so many needs on this team, like, it's a tough one for me. I understand it completely, but I would be scared as a Saints fan that it could end up being not as much of a boon as you would want. That being said, I love Jeremiah Love. I think that he's way better than Jeanty was last year. Like, I thought Jeanty was good. I think Jeremiah Love is fucking awesome.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love's a fucking dog. And, dude, he is enormous in person. Like, he doesn't measure like he's an enormous human being, but he is he is yoked, dude. He is fucking jacked. That motherfucker is going to run through so many people's faces. up, over, around them. He's going to be incredible in my mind. I think he could go here because he could be the perfect replacement to Alvin Kamara. As they try to continue to build around Shuck, give him pieces that will help him move this offense. I think Jeremiah Love is absolutely in play at this pick. If he doesn't go here, there's no fucking way he makes it past the next pick. The Chiefs will take him if he is on the board. I guarantee it.
Well, I'm up next with that Chiefs pick, so you never know.
I think that, and I understand that things are possibly going in a way that nobody's expecting. I think they're going to go receiver here. I'm going to go receiver here. Mekhi Levin. He had quite possibly one of the worst media avails that has happened in quite some time. I get it. You're nervous. I'd be fucking, dude. I was nervous as shit. When I asked Andrew Barry a question, my leg was shaking like a bitch. I was like, just keep it together, bro. Don't sound like you don't know what the fuck you're about to ask him. So I understand being nervous as shit when you're in that moment. Probably should not have smoked an entire sack before you went out there, though, because he was higher than draft balls.
That's a lot. There's multiple teams and multiple reports from multiple teams saying like it seemed like he was actively trying to tank his fucking interviews. Not just the podium interview, but the interviews with the teams, which that scares me because he was so fucking good on the field.
That's the thing is
diva wide receiver
so
is scary.
Good. I don't know if that he's a diva wide receiver.
I use that term very liberally. Like,
right.
I mean a problem wide receiver, because how often do we have receivers who have problems, from Stephon Diggs to Antonio Brown to fucking AJ Brown? Like the guys, these guys can make or break your team because they're so good, but then also they could break your team because they're fucking kind of crazy.
Yeah. He was a weird, the fucking slither thing was crazy. But he's so fucking good at football. Like, I don't know if there will probably be some teams that took him off the board. But when you watch his workout, he was perfect in his fucking gauntlet. Like, he runs well. He has a complete route tree. Hands like fucking glue. Like, he is a stud wide receiver. So the Saints are going to take him right here. They're gonna get a little ballsy. They're going to take the talent and not worry about the character issues or potential character issues. No, I don't know this kid, so I can't fucking say he has them. But the potential character issues that arose at the combine, they're gonna look over that, and they're gonna go with supreme talent because they want to make Tyler Shuck their starting quarterback.
The only thing that would save grace is if it were to come out later on that he went to certain teams that he would want to go to and say, "Hey guys, this is really me. Interview me. But just so you know, I really don't want to go to XYZ place, so I'm going to act fucking weird a little bit. I want you to know this is an act. I'm here for you, and that's why I'm going to act a little goofy." That would be the only thing that would, like, give me relief as a GM for some of these teams, because the other parts that we got to see, like, obviously the on-field stuff was great, but the reports and media sessions were, like, a little outrageous.
It was wild. I was standing off right in front of Jacoby Lane, waiting for Jacoby Lane to get out there. I'm watching Lemon, and it was just so, I was like, what the fuck is happening? I couldn't really hear all the shit that was going on. Tank was in front of him as it was going on. It was wild. And that video that Tank's got, and there's a few of those videos floating around the internet from different angles of the media avail. Ooh.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was fucking weird.
All right. Well, that takes me to the Kansas City Chiefs here. who do have a decent amount of things that they need to fix. This is one of the teams that I will be really interested to see what they do here coming up to free agency, because it's going to start to play in a lot with how they're going to attack this pick in the draft. We brought up the running back stuff earlier. I think that if they go out and get a running back in free agency, a Kenneth Walker, a Breece Hall in some way, shape, or form. I've heard Etienne there. Tyler Algier makes sense to me. Like, there's a bunch of guys here that make sense for this Chiefs team. And I don't think that it completely dissuades you from looking at a supreme talent like a Jeremiah Love. But I think that it absolutely could, because they need to keep Patrick Mahomes upright. They need offensive linemen there. They just released their right tackle, the walking flag, in Juwan Jennings or Juwan Jones, Juwan something. Juwan Johnson. Juwan Jennings is a receiver.
It wasn't Johnson.
It's a Juwan.
Jennings is a receiver.
Yeah. It's Juwan Taylor. Yeah. Flag on me. But he did get his early start like he normally does in the games on his way out of Kansas City. Olomu makes perfect sense to me here. I'm not going to lie. A Reuben Bain makes sense to me here, because Chris Jones, while Chris Jones does play on the interior, I think Bain can move. I know in the Sportsocracy guys, Jeremy in particular didn't necessarily feel great about moving him inside as much, but I think that you just get a lot of flexibility with Bain, depending on what rundown distance it's going to be. I would like Bain here a lot as well. That being said, I don't know what the Chiefs are going to be doing in free agency. I think that they will get a running back, and that most of the guys out there wouldn't dissuade me from taking a Jeremiah Love. Though if I'm spending a pretty penny on, and including draft capital, on a Breece Hall, that probably would dissuade me. And if I'm going out there and spending a lot of money on a Kenneth Walker, it might dissuade me as well. But I don't know that it's going to happen, so I have to take Jeremiah Love here, because I think that's been one of the biggest components of this Chiefs team that has been missing, is the running game. So Jeremiah Love going here to the Chiefs, I hate to see it, because if I passed on him, I think there's a solid chance that he might even make it past Dallas, who just re-signed Javonte Williams, and could fall all the way down to my Vikings at 18 if I didn't take him here. In real life, someone would trade up to get
100%, him. Yeah.
But in one of these non-trade mock drafts, he could fall there. That being said, Jeremiah Love, I absolutely love the kid. I think he's fantastic. I don't know if you heard, someone kind of threw him a question that I loved the way that he answered. It was, how would you feel about playing with the best quarterback in the league? And he said, I'd love playing with the best quarterback in the league. He didn't tell him who. No one said who. So it's up for debate.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
I'd always love
Mahomes.
to play with the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, but like they were trying to get him to slip and say, oh, I'd love to play with a Mahomes or something like that. No. And he didn't. He caught it, which means he's smart enough to catch that stuff. And he's a damn good fucking running back. He's a good receiver. He's a good runner. He does everything so well, so smooth. I think he's going to be fantastic. We're talking Jahmyr Gibbs, Reggie Bush type territory with him. So I love the pick here. Other than the fact that it is going to the Chiefs. But that's Jeremiah Love there helping that team out.
And you brought up something, quick thing. These guys are very well prepared typically on the podiums if they have a good agent. There was one kid, I'm not going to say who it was, who was so prepared. Somebody asked him, who are your top 5 offensive tackles? He's like, all right, top 5 off. Like he went and was like, all right, we've rehearsed this one. I've got this answer. And then immediately, boom, listed them. I was like, so we've heard that question before. We've been waiting for that one to come out of somebody's mouth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Moving on to pick 10, the Bengals are on the clock. And with the news that Trey Hendrickson will no longer be a Bengal, Reuben Bain sitting there, and the high production, I think the Bengals are going to do it. They're going to take him right here. The arm measurement is a problem. That is one of those things that matters at the tackle and the fucking edge spots is your reach, your arm length. Myles Garrett, for anybody who is unaware, guy that just set the record for fucking sacks. Yeah, nope. 35-inch arms. That's crazy long. Reuben Bain, much smaller arms. There's not a ton of guys that have generated a ton of sacks shorter arms. I don't know if you famously remember Elvis Dumervil, short edge rusher, but crazy long fucking arms. Still was able to generate pressure. So Ruben Bain is going to have that. It is a problem, and especially if you go up against these really long fucking left tackles. But the Bengals are prone to doing things that maybe sometimes don't make the most sense. Production was there. Yeah, his fall could be more than this, but the Bengals will pull the trigger in this mock draft and take Ruben Bain right here.
Yeah, look, Ruben Bain, the arms are going to hurt him some, I think. That being said, the tape is kind of undeniable. Like, he is, again, probably like a top 5 talent-wise. If I didn't know what his arm length was, that's where we're talking about the production that you see on the film from college. And to overlook that, I think can be a failure when we start getting into the minutia, the analytics of it. The guys like need this length of arm and this size hand. Those things matter, especially when we're talking about really high picks. But also, if Dan Marino were to have gone out there with 8-inch hands, it's still fucking Dan Marino. Like, Ruben Bain put up fantastic fucking tape, and it's really tough for me to say, like, yeah, but his short arms means that he's more of a mid first round or a late first round, which is where some of the drop conversations go to. It's the same thing with like Mesidor. Mesidor is an older player, but I don't have him and Bain that super far apart as far as their talent level, because Mesidor is fantastic as well. I think Mesidor is probably almost an easier plug and play starter in the league because of his age and the fact that he's developed a little bit more. You might not have as long of a leash with him as far as contracts and things like that, but I think Mesidor is going to be fantastic in the league. I think Bain's going to be fantastic in the league. He's going to be good enough that he's going to be able to figure out how to work around that arm length, because guess what? He's had him his whole life and he's fucking made it work. It does matter with edge rushers and tackles, like you said, because that edge rusher wants to create separation between him and the tackle. The longer your arms are, the more that separation is, and it allows you to do different moves, swim moves, things like that, to get out of that reach. And he's going to get reached on by tackles a lot easier. But he's still a very, very good fucking player. And I think that you can still find ways to win. While the Bengals do like to bungle a lot, I still think that they just need to take super solid defensive talent. Now, Caleb, if Caleb Banks is still here, easy type of pick. If Sonny Styles is here, easy type of pick. I think Mansour Delane is also an easy type of pick. You can go anywhere along that defense, and you're probably going to be upgrading there. But with Bain on the board, it makes a ton of sense. It takes me to pick 11 here with the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins need a lot of help all over the place as well. I think that they need more help along that offensive line than it's actually showing on the PFF needs. They need a quarterback real bad, probably. But that's not happening here. I don't see Ty Simpson going here. I could see Ty Simpson going to them maybe in the second round if he doesn't get reached on by someone in the late part of the first round. But I'm going to go Mansour Delane. I think he's top corner in the class. They need help there in the secondary a lot. I like Mansour Delane here to the Dolphins.
Yeah, he's the number one cornerback in this class, and I don't love this cornerback class at all. He's easily
my interesting class. That I like a lot.
There's some depth guys at the second and third round that I would take, that I would be interested in, as you know, at that level. But seeing guys like a Jermod McCoy average draft position at fucking 13.9, that's way too high.
Jermod McCoy is a fun conversation because if you guys haven't been paying attention, he did not participate at the combine. A guy who hasn't played in over a year because of injury. Talked about it a little bit. At least I commented about it when you were with the Sportsocracy guys. We look at some of the other guys from like last year's class who I had rated around the Jermod McCoy level of talent, but we're also coming off injuries. And we're talking around second round picks or later. Like, that's where McCoy kind of is starting to fall for me, where it's like, if he never had the injury, he's probably top corner in this class. But that injury, and again, still not working out, scares me too much. I think he's going to have a precipitous fall. Colton Hood, his running mate, I think possibly has a better chance of going higher than Jermod McCoy.
Yeah, and
And I think Hood needs some more development too.
Avion Terrell's gonna go over fucking Jermod McCoy probably.
Yeah,
because
I like Avion Terrell a lot.
I like him too. And honestly, I was kind of thinking that might be where I go here, but listen. So the corners for the Cowboys are boom bust. We've known that for forever. But I got a guy sitting right here, like Dylan Diamond, that would fill a need for the Cowboys. And man, he played really well. And the fucking like everything worked out for him. Tape was really good, played really well, and then has an exceptional combine. And he fits in team need. Cowboys are going with Dylan Diamond right here. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you should be very, very happy. This kid, I think, is going to be a stud.
Yeah. The Edelman, he probably had one of the bigger jumps in this class. I'm a big fan of his. I hate him going to the Cowboys. One point of note here, 2024, you can see on his PFF stats, they dropped a little bit. Now, he was with Purdue in 23-24. That first year, Purdue, really fucking good. That center field player, allowing him to go out there and make plays on the ball. They kind of switched up what he did in Purdue in 24 and took him out of position to be making as many interceptions and breakups and stuff. A little bit more down in the box type player. And then he goes to Oregon and they said, hey, hunt on the ball. Use your instincts, go after it. And that's why you saw such a big uptick there again as well. Super good player. For a long time, he was sitting in the second round on PFF, and I thought that was too low on him. This is high for him, but and I think this is high for him because, again, that end of combine kind of hangover. But he's absolutely a first-round player at this point. And so if this is the guy that they feel like they need, go for him. I think he's going to be a stud.
And it's Thieneman. Man. I have the pronunciation guide.
Yeah. There's Thieneman, Thenman. There's all sorts of different.
Thieneman. It's Thieneman. So I'm glad I got this, by the way. So I can stop saying these guys' fucking names wrong.
Yeah. All right. Next up, LA Rams on the clock here. Some needs all over the place. I see cornerback going here a lot. I see Jermod McCoy going here still in post-combine mocks. We just talked about McCoy. I don't see that happening. I think also some of the free agents that they have there as far as cornerbacks are going to return, so it might not be as huge of a need for them. But they do need to protect Matt Stafford, and they need to protect whoever the future quarterback is going to be there because Matt Stafford doesn't have a ton of time left playing, in my opinion. He is getting up there in age. So I'm looking at the offensive line. My favorite offensive lineman still on here is Spencer Fano. So Fano going to the Rams.
Yeah. That's a slam dunk, man. If Fano's on the board with the Rams pick, they would be ecstatic. They're going to run up there to take him.
This is a team that uses so much 12, 13 personnel that if you start to have weaknesses at the tackle spot, it starts to deteriorate what all those extra tight ends are doing. You're creating an interior pressure type of situation. They like to run the ball a little bit more now. You need to have good linemen out there, and some of their linemen are aging out.
Yeah, listen, I like this pick a lot. It makes a lot of sense to me. I don't love picking for the Ravens, but that is who is on the clock. So we're going to go find a kicker. Tommy Doman is who we're going to take. By the way, shout out Tommy.
Not Trey Smack.
Tommy Doman. He's a punter.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my question, by the way, Tommy. So I hate doing this because it's going to make the Ravens very good. Interior defensive lineman Caleb Banks is sitting right there. Now listen, there were a couple other guys who had really good combines. Peter Woods had a really good combine. Like he could be the number one. Lee Hunter had a really good combine and a good fucking Senior Bowl. He's probably moving up the boards. He's a different type of player, though. Caleb Banks here would be a real fucking problem. The Ravens would love to have this dude. He's able to generate pass rush from inside. He's good in the run game. He was fantastic at fucking Senior Bowl, and he blew the combine out of the water. I'm going to end up going with a Caleb Banks here for the Ravens to help fill a team need, and a guy that had a really good week.
Yeah. Look, I've heard some stuff too about Madubuike there, possibly just not playing again after the neck injury, which is always a scary thing. They just signed him to a big contract. He was one of the top free agents, I believe, 2 years ago, and they were able to bring him back. This hedges your bet against Madubuike. Like if you have both Madubuike and Banks out there, that's fucking awesome. But if Madubuike can't play, then you do have a succession plan there with Caleb Banks. I love Caleb Banks a lot. Obviously, the foot injury is a little scary, especially with big guys. And then to hear that, that was kind of coming up again, possibly some bleeding and stuff like that of the foot here at the combine. I think that he is much of a talent that you can overlook some of that stuff, or you can sell yourself as long as the medicals team says, yeah, this isn't going to be a super long-term issue for him, that he's worth a pick this high. So I like Caleb Banks a lot.
I do as well. The only 3 games played this year due to injury, coming back, he will probably fall a little bit. But listen, when you look at this kid and you look at the way the Ravens kind of pick, they find guys that they really love that fit what they do, and they take them. They don't fucking they don't worry about certain things. They're just like, this guy knows how to play. He fits what we do. We take him. If that has changed, it might have changed with Harbaugh leaving, but I can't imagine that the organization is going to get away from what they've done their whole fucking lives. So,
yeah. All right, Bucks up on the clock. I think that they do want edge rush help. They want linebacker help. I like CJ Allen. I'm a big fan of his in this class, and I think that he could be a fit there. Also, I like Mesidor, but Mesidor doesn't necessarily fit with their type of edge rusher that they're used to. So this is probably around the range that I'm starting to look at it, but we're looking at a Cade Otton replacement, the guy who can actually block a little bit and play that tight end spot. Kenyon Sadiq. This is about as high as I think I would go with him, but I'm going to go with Kenyon Sadiq here.
Okay. Blew up the combine. 4.39 tight end. Fastest tight end of all time at the combine. Jumped out of the fucking building. This was like the perfect tight end experience. Coming from a system in Oregon where maybe he doesn't get a lot of different things, I think this kid is going to be really good. If you get him to be a halfway decent blocker, he can be lined up anywhere. He's not huge. He's not your typical inline tight end. He's more of he's your move guy. And that's okay because he's fucking really good. He's a great route. So I like the pick here. Baker would be ecstatic because he loves tight ends. And this is a David Njoku clone, but better. Like David Njoku was the guy who could jump out of a building, ran really well. And Baker and him had a really nice chemistry. Sadiq would fill that role immediately.
And I do think that there's going to be some wide receiver questions with this Bucs team. Mike Evans probably moving on. Chris Godwin probably moving on. And then you've got a bunch of young guys there. Yeah, this is another young guy, but you want to give Baker options to throw to. So I kind of like Sadiq there. Now, again, like you said, he's not necessarily as much of the inline guy, which Cade Otton could do. But I don't think that you necessarily have to move away from Cade Otton. They could still bring Cade Otton back, who is a decent receiver, but definitely more that inline blocker and allows you to move Sadiq as a move guy. I really would like to have found an edge rusher here for him. I think like a TJ Parker makes a lot of sense for this team, but it's too high for a TJ Parker for me here. So I'll go with Sadiq because best tight end in this class. I don't think he's as high as Laporta or Tyler Warren. He's closer to a Colson Loveland for me personally. Again, I'm a big fan of Sadiq, not as big as some of the other people out there right now. Again, I feel like it's like the hype from the combine a little bit. My fear is that Vernon Davis had a good career, but my fear is that he could have a Vernon Davis type career, which is an average tight end for most of the time. That's kind of where my kind of floor goes with him.
All right. Moving on to the Jets here at pick 16. And so they've already made one pick. David Bailey, edge rusher, is on the squad. So I can go ahead and attack a different area here. Man, they move off of Sauce. They just make a trade. I feel like cornerback could be in play here if with the board the way it is. I don't love Jermod McCoy, but Avion Terrell sitting there. It might be a little high, but that's where we're gonna go. It could be a way to help, kind of rebuild that defense, help replenish that secondary for the Jets. They're gonna generate better pass rush, or they should. And that was kind of the point of the trade. So let's go ahead and replenish the cornerback spot here with Avion Terrell.
All righty. Look, one of the knocks on Avion Terrell is his size. People keep on saying that he's more of a slot cornerback interior player. I think he plays way bigger than his actual height, and I don't think his height is prohibitive either. From playing outside, like he's not super short by any means. I think he's what, like 5'10", 5'11", something like that. So like he's still decent size. Better player than his brother there with the Falcons. Really scrappy guy. A cornerback that if he made it to my Vikings, I would absolutely be considering as well. So solid pick there for the Jets. They're going to probably be looking at a lot of those defensive options. All right, next up here, Detroit Lions on the clock, and they love their injured cornerbacks. This is why Jermod McCoy would be the pick, right? They need a cornerback. They like injuries. No, I'm not going that way. I do think though that this is Dan Campbell trying to get back to Dan Campbell, fixing the offensive line or the defensive line. He's a trench guy, and he wants people in the trenches. I'm going to Akeem Mesidor. I'm higher on him than most. I think that he will be a really good complement alongside Hutchinson. So I'm going to Akeem Mesidor. Again, a guy that normally is a little bit later in the first round, but I think the dude's a stud. I don't care about the age. Dan Campbell might be feeling a little bit of a hot seat if he has another bad year. Going with Akeem Mesidor.
Listen, high production. He is older, so that worries you, but that defense was really good. That gives Aiden Hutchinson a guy opposite of him that can help generate pass rush. If they can generate a ton of pressure, they can maybe keep teams off the board so that offense won't have to try to score 40 points a fucking game. I like this pick. I know that there are people that don't like Mesidor, but I think that is a lot to do with his age. If you send him to a team that is ready to compete already, I think you're okay with it. If you take him as your generational pass rusher at 2, you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, pick 18 is on the clock, and that I'm going to hand this to you as the Vikings fan.
All right. I want to get your thoughts on players here first before I kind of go with what I'm going to do. So what in this position, I don't love the way that the board has fallen for the Vikings, but that's pretty typical here at pick 18. What sort of spots would you be thinking about going if you were picking for the Vikings?
Are you guys moving off of Grenard?
Possibly.
Keldrick Falk?
He's got to be a stand-up guy, and I don't know if Keldrick Falk is as much of a stand-up guy. Barely any off-ball snaps there.
An outside tackle. Safety. I mean, but the safety you wanted is already gone. Now, there is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren on the board here. Smaller school, Toledo, but this seems like it's awfully high. If you're the Vikings and you think about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, you're probably thinking trade down and then take that guy. You could probably trade down and get him.
Yeah.
There's not an interior offensive lineman because you guys are good at guard.
We're okay at guard. Yeah. Obviously we took guard in the first round last year and signed Will Fries to a bigger contract. Will Fries was probably the worst offensive lineman out there who's steady, but he was out there every single game and he just played average. And I'm fine with average as long as you have good players around him, which I think we do. It's a tough spot to be in, right?
Yeah, it's not great because CJ Allen doesn't do what you want either necessarily.
And I would be okay with the CJ Allen, but I don't want to take an interior linebacker with some of the other needs that we have this high. It's definitely on my list in this class, but there's a lot of good interior linebackers, off-ball linebackers for this class that I do like.
Honestly, if at this point I try to move down.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are probably going to be feeling that here in these middle picks as far as value. Now, my outside the box one is a Jordan Tyson. Bring in a third receiver. Kevin O'Connell likes to pass the fucking ball, right? You want to have good quarterback play. You got to have people who can catch the ball. Who knows what's going to happen with Jordan Addison this year? Theoretically, he could be a trade target as well, but he's going to be playing possibly into his fifth-year option. He's going to get very expensive and be looking for a lot of money. So there's a succession plan there. Also, I don't know that we're going to be keeping Jordan Naylor around. He might price himself out. Apparently, there's a lot of teams that are looking at him as a good option, as a number 2 type of guy. You bring in a Jordan Tyson, and you're immediately getting a guy who is looked at as potentially being the best wide receiver in this class to play along with one of the best wide receivers in the game when Addison's not out there. This would be the 3 deep type thing from the past that the Vikings had with Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Jake Reed. But that, again, is a luxury pick here. Rob Brzezinski is going to be picking for us, and I don't know that he's going to go with a luxury pick, even though Tyson could be electric for years if those injuries check out. I think on offense, we don't have a ton of issues where things stand outside of figuring out quarterback and running back. It's too high for a running back. Mike Washington had himself a good fucking combine.
Yeah, he did. And I got to tell you, when I was down in Mobile, I was looking at the running backs. I was like, these guys fucking suck, except for one dude, and it was Mike Washington. He was the only running back worth a fucking note down in Mobile, and then he came out.
Outside of Jeremiah Love. Oh, Mobile.
Yeah. If Jeremiah Love were in Mobile and I had not noticed, I would have been very bad at my job. Yeah. But no, yeah, he was exceptional at Senior Bowl. He was the only guy worth talking about at Senior Bowl in terms of running backs. And then, are you going to do it? I took him in the first round the other night.
No, I'm not, because I like Mike Washington a lot. I also don't think Mike Washington is going in the first round. I think he will go in the second round. I think that's like perfect value for him. And I was kind of high on Mike Washington before, and I've been quiet about it because when I am focused on a position in the draft, I feel like me not talking about it, maybe then someone won't fucking draft him and they'll follow me. And I haven't been able to help myself as much with Jadarian Price because I'm also a fan of Jadarian Price. Those are 2 guys that I am very high on for my Vikings, hopefully in like a second round type range. But I'm not going with that in the first round, especially not at pick 18. Now, if we're talking like 32 or something like that, like maybe I could be talked into it depending on who else is on the board. No, I'm going on defense. I am going with Peter Woods.
Okay, wow.
I like Peter Woods at defensive tackle. I think he was DT1 for a long time, and that was partially because Banks was hurt and people didn't know if he was going to be able to come back as well from that foot injury. It's looking like he is coming back, but Peter Woods is fantastic. This dude played some hand in the dirt linebacker type roles at times in Clemson, outside tackle. He played end, he played 1 tech, 3 tech, he played all over the place. He played a shitload of special teams snaps. Like, you talk about Brian Flores, who likes a guy who can do anything. Peter Woods can do fucking anything along that defense. And we're talking about, we're releasing Javon Hargrave. Don't be surprised when Jonathan Allen gets released as well, who was one of our signings last year. We got Redmond in the middle, who's good. We got some young guys who are good, but Peter Woods immediately bumps up the interior defensive line. And it's a guy that Brian Flores would absolutely love. So I'm going with Peter Woods here for the Vikings.
All right. And Peter Woods is a good player. He's probably, this feels high. I feel like he's kind of falling. I feel like some of the other D tackles did themselves.
That's the thing is Peter Woods, I don't think did anything to fall. The other guys had some good performances, and now they're being talked about more. Lee Hunter, who I love, Caleb Banks, who I love, both have worked themselves up. But I don't think that should be at the disservice to Peter Woods, who, again, was very commonly a top 15, even top 10 defensive tackle pick early on in the process. I don't think Peter Woods has done anything to hurt himself. I think that he's still that quality of player And so I feel a little bit lucky to be able to have a chance at getting him here at 18.
Yeah, go ahead.
I see Christian Wilkins type of performance from Peter Woods minus the freaky stuff.
All right. Well, I'm going to take your 19th pick here, and I'm going to make these next two, and then we'll get back on our proper rotation since you went 2 in a row there with Lions and Vikings.
Alrighty.
And I don't like taking this pick because this fucking Panthers pick sucks.
I know who Panthers fans want.
Who's that? Is it CJ Allen?
No, it's Jordan Tyson. They want Ted McMillan and Jordan
receiver?
Tyson out there. Yeah, which again to me feels rich for this team. But most commonly taken person by the Panthers fans in drafts has been Jordan Tyson recently.
Interesting. I don't feel like that makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, this says it's their biggest need. The wide receiver, but
if I'm making the pick, I'm going defense.
Yeah, that's where I feel like it needs to be, is on the defensive side of the ball. So I was like CJ Allen, but is there value in Caden McDonald? No.
Now I have seen also offensive tackle. This is a high spot for a Freeling because of the injury to their left tackle. You get a replacement, and you and I both have felt that guy should kick inside their injured left tackle. So I've seen that bandied around a little bit as well.
All right. You know what?
Some people are super high on Caden Proctor too at the tackle spot.
Yeah. I listen, he was a nice guy. I got to be at his media avail as well. I'm not sure we're going to go. I'm going to give the fans what they want. They want Jordan Tyson. They can have Jordan Tyson. Really good receiver. Will the medicals work out? I hope so. I hope the kid can play because he's really good when he's on the field. I think he's one of those guys that you can move around. He can play basically every position at the wide receiver spot.
Dan Morgan has said he's going to do what's best for the team. Best player. He's not defense focused or anything like that. Every GM should say that. Not all of them do it.
Yeah. Listen, one of my favorite sayings that I learned this week was it's free to say shit. And it is. So we'll go Jordan Tyson. Listen, I think he's a good player, but I don't know why Panthers fans want a receiver so bad. I did not know this, but Jalen Coker was like a top 32 receiver.
Yeah, that's the thing is that you do have Ted McMillan and Jalen Coker. Those are two really good receivers. I think Jalen Coker definitely fits as more of your primary slot guy, obviously because of his size and everything. And Ted McMillan is an outside dude, but I like Tyson, Coker, and Ted McMillan gives you a really fucking scary sounding receiving core. And if you believe in Bryce Young and giving him weapons, to go along with Rico Dowdle, if they retain him because he's a free agent, you get some pretty cool options on offense there. But that defense to me still, while they overperformed last year, I still think that they're just bereft of a lot of talent at different spots. So that's where I would be leaning his defense. But look, the fans want the flash, and the flash comes at a wide receiver position in Jordan Tyson. Dallas Cowboys on the clock. You're up again. They took my guy Dylan Yeoman with that first pick.
Yeah. Veneman is gone. So they got a safety. Running back, I mean, we could go with the DeMarco Murray clone right here and Mike Washington Jr. I think he's better than DeMarco Murray. I like him better than DeMarco Murray personally. Okay, there you go. So obviously there's a little bit of a link there, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to continue to attack the defensive side of the ball because Keldrick Falk is still sitting here. I mean, they need a pass rusher, right? Keldrick Falk sitting here, probably the best one on the board. Let's go ahead and get a guy that can maybe get in here and help us get after these quarterbacks a little bit more because the loss of Micah Parsons hurt, obviously, interior pass rush helped, but then you go ahead and add a guy like a Keldrick Falk on the outside. Maybe that defense will stop being such mega ass.
Such mega ass. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers up on the clock. The assumption is that Aaron Rodgers will be back, and I'm going to go off of that assumption. Also, this is moon face territory. You don't know what's going to happen here. I think that they would consider Jordan Tyson, even though I think that he, if the injury concern wasn't there before, it would be for him playing there in Pittsburgh in the cold, going from Arizona. But I think that they are probably going to be looking either offensive line or in that defensive backfield. Denzel Boston would be a fit there too. Again, a guy who is good at possession receptions, a good run blocker. But you kind of have another big bodied dude in a DK Metcalf. I don't know. It's a tough spot. I'm going to go Emmanuel McNeil-Warren.
Okay.
This is a guy that, look, one of the guys I work with, Trey Anderson, big Steelers fan. He's a fan of bringing a safety in there or a defensive back. This is my favorite safety defensive back that is out there still. Very multiple. A guy who's going to be kind of talked a lot about in the same way that the Seattle safety, who's kind of a joker, was talked about last year. I don't think he's the same player, but closer. So Emmanuel McNeil-Warren here to the Steelers.
All right. Moving on to pick number 22 with the Chargers. I mean, I need interior offensive line help. The best interior offensive lineman is sitting right there. Vega Ione, I gotta take him. It sucks because if I had not taken him here, there was a high chance that was going to be the pick for my Browns because that's the best offensive lineman on the board still at this point. He's gonna be a dog on the interior. I think this kid's special, and with as long as those tackles come back and they're healthy, that makes that offensive line so good out there. Those Chargers, they're going to be able to run the ball again for damn sure if they go this route.
Yeah, I don't see a way that they don't go with an offensive lineman here for the Chargers. Vega Ione, fantastic. I think people sleep too much on Pregnon too. Pregnon is not that far behind for me.
I like Pregnon quite a bit. I've actually have mocked a couple of different mocks of my own where I take Pregnon at 24 because tackles start going like crazy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pregnon there. Yeah, that's it makes like Pregnon or Ione there. Like I do have Ione slotted a little bit higher, but it's not that far of a drop off for me. Pregnon, it's still like a first round caliber type of guard, or a guard that should go in the first round. Not first round talent, but a guy who probably could go in the first round, and I wouldn't be super surprised about it. All right, Philadelphia Eagles up next. Defensive back help. They're going to take Jermod McCoy. I don't like it. I think that he could fall the second round. But again, if this guy didn't have the injury concern, he's probably the top cornerback in this class. Maybe he goes out there at his pro day and looks pretty decent. But it seems like the Eagles are typical for doing this. They sit and wait and have people fall into their laps here near the first round of the draft. So you're betting on some upside here. A defensive backfield with Cooper DeJean, the Toledo kid, and McCoy out there. If they're all out there healthy, seems a little bit scary.
Yeah, listen, I don't like it either, but if there's a team that can get the best out of him, it's going to be the Eagles. As long as he's even remotely healthy, they'll be very happy. But, man, I don't know. It's very concerning that he has not done anything. We'll see what happens at Pro Day. Like, what happens if he does nothing at Pro Day?
Then he's absolutely not going in the first round. I think this was echoed on the pod before while you were out there in Indianapolis, but whoever's advising him to not do stuff is fucking stupid as hell unless he physically can't work out. And if he can't work out, that's not good either. But if he goes and performs at his pro day and looks good, then the question has to be, who the fuck told you not to work out at the combine? Get rid of that representation. Because if he goes to his pro day and looks good, like what the hell were you thinking? Because looking good at your pro day, you're probably still a first round pick. If you're bad at your pro day or you're still injured and can't work out, you're a second rounder later.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to pick number 24 with my Cleveland Browns again. And once again, I'm going to be able to pull off the same thing I did the other night in the 4-man mock. I'm going to take Monroe Freeling here. He falls to me again at 24. I don't know if that will happen in real life. But listen, at 24, I think it's a great pick. I could also go with Lomu here. Blake Miller, I wouldn't mind. Listen, Baker is a guy that I could take in round 2, and I would be very happy about. So if we decide to go something else here, if we were to go guard because there was a Vega Ione, I would be very okay with that because there's some other tackles later on. But since Vega's gone, Monroe's sitting right here, I'm going to take him, and we'll get our starting left tackle of the future.
All righty. Next up, Chicago Bears. They did just have Drew Dahlman retire today, announce his retirement, starting center for them that they signed just last offseason. Probably a surprise for everyone. He's still pretty young, I believe 27, 28, something 27. Like that. Which, they can't really go and replace here in the first round, not first round center talent out there and available. But there is a guy that I do really like that I would hate to see go to this Bears team that is still available, and that's Lee Hunter. They need help on that interior defensive line real bad. Lee Hunter is a fucking stud. Yes, is he more of a nose tackle? And that's not as something that you go for super high in the draft usually. But I think he showed a lot, especially at the Senior Bowl, that he's got pass rush capability. He's a fucking good nose tackle, even from that standpoint. So I'm going Lee Hunter for the Bears, even though I would hate to see him go there. I think it's a good pick for them.
All right. That puts me on the clock at pick 26 with the Bills. And at this point, man, you got to look at receiver. Couple of options. Omar Cooper has been flying up draft boards. He's being mocked in the first round in a ton. And I don't quite understand why. All right. Hey, good win, though. Go Cavs. I got Denzel Boston here, but it feels like I have Denzel Boston at home. It just Denzel Boston at home doesn't separate and catch the ball.
Look,
are we worried that Denzel Boston?
I love Denzel Boston way more than Keon Coleman. If that's what we're talking about here,
it is. They're built exactly the same.
They are, but I think Denzel Boston can still create more separation, and even if he doesn't, he catches the ball better.
He does. Oh gosh, this is tough. But you know what? Denzel Boston sitting here. They need a receiver. Is a guy that I do like. Normally I don't love constructing a wide receiver room with guys that are all built exactly the fucking same. But you know what? If I'm going to have guys that are built exactly the same, I'd rather them be bigger than smaller. So we'll go Denzel Boston for the Bills, get Josh Allen that big target, hopefully a more consistent target than Keon Cole.
Yep. Again, really good contested catch rate for this guy. I believe best in the class. Really good run blocker, which is a big part of their game, whether Josh Allen's running the ball or James Cook is running the ball. I like Denzel Boston. I think he's slept on a little bit because he's less flashy than a bunch of the other receivers in this class, but he's super solid. I would have also considered possibly like a linebacker here for them. CJ Allen would work out well.
Thought about CJ Allen, but they need a receiver, dude. So bad. They need a number one.
Absolutely. And this is a good linebacker class. So they can probably find their way to one later. Next up, San Francisco 49ers on the clock. Feel like we've forgotten about this, but Trent Williams and the 49ers are trying to work out contract stuff, and it doesn't seem to be going in the right direction. Also, Trent Williams isn't young. He's pretty fucking old, and he gets injured quite a bit. So going towards a succession plan there makes a lot of sense on the offensive line. I do know that they want to get help on the defense as well. A TJ Parker or a Caden McDonald is a kind of a run stuffing guy. I think Caden McDonald is going to fall in the first round, by the way. I think that he's probably like a mid-second round type guy because he's not showing much of anything other than just being that run stopping, like best run defending defensive tackle in this class, but not a ton elsewhere. And so that's going to kind of drop him a little bit. I've got two guys in mind though. I'm dead set, despite it not being listed on there as a need for him, like getting them a tackle. Either replace Trent Williams, because if Trent Williams leaves, that immediately becomes like a huge need for them. And the two guys I'm looking at are Caden Proctor or the guy that you brought up earlier, Ianacor. I like both those guys. But I think that I'm going to go with Caden Proctor because he fits a little bit better in the mold of what Trent Williams is. So Caden Proctor going to the San Francisco 49ers. Hate on me, 49ers fans, if you want. But the fact of the matter is you see how good that team is with Trent Williams on the field and without him on the field. And he gets injured quite a bit. Caden Proctor might be able to play a little bit of guard for you if you need to. But I'm going with Proctor.
Proctor. Listen, when you want to talk about a physical comp to Trent Williams, Caden Proctor is that physical comp. Like he's a fucking an enormous human being. And it is pronounced Ihanachor. Ihanachor, I think is how you pronounce Max's name. Hey, thanks guys. Appreciate this. I'm gonna keep this bitch around for the rest of the year. Moving on to pick number 28. Well, I don't love the fact that tackles are going off the board now if I am the Texans. I do have a guy here at Lomu that I could take. Like Miller possibly could move. Oh, man. Running back is a possibility. This is where I took Mike Washington Jr. in the last one. Just because, you know what? That running back room needs some work. However, that will not be happening in this draft, especially since they just traded for David Montgomery. So there's no need for running back in this spot anymore. They have to attack offensive line. Lomu. You know what? A guy that I do like, and we just got done talking about him. It'll help this fucking offensive line no matter what. We're going to go with Emmanuel Perignon. Guard. A little higher up in this class, and then
I can't fault it. Look, Pregnon's fucking awesome.
I don't care what Caserio says. Their fucking offensive line was dog shit. They need to draft offensive linemen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all for it. Look, they brought in Ed Ingram last year from my Vikings, and he PFF graded out very well, and I don't believe it because I saw how ass he was with the Vikings. Pregnon immediately can go in on that left side. They got that offensive line is so bad. Pregnon could play left tackle, and he's not a fucking left tackle, and he still would probably be the best on the team. So bringing in Pregnon makes a lot of sense there. You need to protect CJ Stroud so that way you can have a running game and a quarterback. Without that, your offense doesn't work. And yeah, you have an elite defense, but you need to be able to score some points. Plain and simple. And you need a fucking offensive line to do that. All right, next up, the Rams. Ty Simpson territory. It's talked about all the time. Earlier, they took Spencer Fano to kind of help them out along that offensive line, though. But I'm not going to be going Ty Simpson, even though that's kind of an easy pick for a lot of people here.
Tyler Green?
No. God, no. No. I'm going to go with a cornerback that I'm a little bit of a fan of, Brandon Cisse. I think that he is a good cornerback, doesn't get talked about enough. I'm a fan of him. Yes, I do think they're going to bring some cornerbacks back, but I like Cisse. I don't know why he doesn't get talked about as much as some of the other guys. Another guy that I really like is Dalen Everett. I think that Dalen Everett gets looked at as like a third round pick and stuff like that. I think that he's a second round, possibly can jump in as a starter pretty early on. But I'm going to be going with Brandon Cisse here to help that defensive backfield for the LA Rams.
All right. Let me find this motherfucker real quick. All right, so moving on to pick number 30 here with the Broncos. And listen, Cisse is a good player. At this point, you hit tackle, you hit corner. The only thing they're waiting for is a quarterback. They might be able to go out and get a Ty Simpson or whoever and just sit and wait in the wings. But I like the pick. With pick 30, we're going to see another tight end go here because, man, they love tight ends. Or Sean Payton typically loves tight ends, especially guys that are matchup fucking nightmares, those joker positions. Yeah. And Eli Stowers had a pretty damn good year. And then he went out to the combine and blew it the fuck up. And I was very lucky that I knew that was going to happen. Not because that I knew Eli Stowers, but because I got to meet some people. Logan Paulson currently works for the Commanders, was a tight end in the NFL, trained Eli in the offseason in the prep for this. Said he was jumping 43. He was going to jump out of the fucking building. So we were all very locked in watching Eli go and do his workout.
Track background too with this guy.
Yeah, this dude, sense. Athlete, crazy athlete. Sean Payton is going to love this fucking kid. Eli Stowers goes to the Broncos, and Bo Nix gets a nice new weapon.
Look, I kind of said I think Eli Stowers reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Graham. Sean Payton did good things with the Jimmy Graham. Tight ends are good friends for young quarterbacks as well. So, all right, next up, Patriots at pick 31. They apparently need a guard, tackle, edge defender, and linebacker. They need all sorts of stuff on this team, despite making it to the Super Bowl, right? We all know that they outperformed what they were supposed to be doing this year. Easier schedule, whatnot, but congrats to the Patriots for making it there to the Super Bowl. This might be the pick that most people won't agree with me on. A guy that's not traditionally seen as a first-round pick, but someone that I am a stand for. And also someone who I think really does have the possibility of creeping into the first round because I can't make excuses anymore. I don't think anyone can make excuses why this guy isn't a first round talent based on what he did at the combine, at the Senior Bowl, and in college. I'm going with a linebacker. I'm going with Jacob Rodriguez.
Wow.
I think that he is fringe first round based off of everything that he's done through this offseason and in college football. And I think that he's a Vrabel guy.
I mean, he is a Vrabel guy. CJ Allen sitting there. That's where I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, consideration. But look, hear me out on this. What has been the knocks on Rodriguez the whole time? They don't know if he's athletic enough, and they don't know if he has the size. But his size was perfectly fine. Is he on the smaller end of a inside linebacker? Yes, but not by current NFL standards. He's bigger than Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson was a fantastic linebacker last year for the Vikings. He is, I believe, like half an inch or 3/4 of an inch shorter than Luke Kuechly and putting up nearly the same measurables otherwise. He's putting up incredible stats in college. He was the interior linebacker on one of the best college defenses last year. He's a fumble god. Like, he has a knack for getting to that football. He's got a fucking great mustache.
He's got a wife that flies the fucking Black Hawk helicopter.
Yeah.
So
this is a Vrabel type of dude. I can't talk I see all the reasons that people have said why he's a mid-rounder, third rounder, now he's a second rounder. Dude, I can't keep making excuses why he's not worthy of a first-round pick. I think that you can get a Luke Kuechly type of contributor at linebacker from Jake Rodriguez real fucking quick. And that's a first-round pick to me. Luke Kuechly was a top 5 pick.
Luke Kuechly's fucking all-world. That's one of the best fucking linebackers I've ever seen.
So I'll stand on business on that one. 10 toes down, Jacob Rodriguez, first-round pick.
Hell yeah. All right. I got to go find his ass now, but I'm here for that. All right. So I'm going to wrap this thing up with pick number 32. A guy that also, I think some people we're not paying attention to. I knew about him because, well, I was down at the Senior Bowl. He had a hell of a combine. And there is a massive need at running back for this team, especially since they have not signed Kenneth Walker. Janarian Price is there, could be the guy, but Mike Washington Jr. is going to be really good at football. Take a look at those numbers, folks. Look how low the carries are. You guys remember a guy by the name of Jahmyr Gibbs? Didn't have a ton of fucking carries in college. Kind of was talked about creeping in at the back half of the first round. It was really explosive. That's fucking Mike Washington Jr., guys. It's the same thing happening again. If he goes here, they don't have to worry about Charbonnet. They don't have to worry about re-signing Kenneth Walker. He's going to step in right away. He's got a ton of tread on the tires. And when Charbonnet gets back, it'll be a great 1-2 punch.
I think one of the things that was slept on that you got to see from this last year, he can catch the ball. Like, he's not just a one-trick pony with running the ball with the speed and explosiveness and the size, because we're talking about a guy who is 6'1", 6'2", in the 220s. He's a big back. He can thump it. He's got big boy speed.
Oh, yeah.
Fast speed. And he's also shown that he can catch the ball being thrown to him from a Taylor Green, who's a quarterback technically, but probably not a quarterback at the next level. Good player. I still think is perfect for the second round, but when we're talking about a first round that isn't filled with first round talent, I could see it happening. I thought you were going to go with a Jennings dunker.
No, I did not want to go and do that.
Guard.
Listen, I want Jennings needs to be sitting around there in the fucking late second, third round.
I love me some Jennings dunker.
Dude, that flow was just getting it during the 40.
Yeah.
All right, man. So I like the way this worked out. I felt pretty good. No, nothing too crazy. I think the biggest shock might be Jacob Rodriguez and then Mike Washington going 31-32 there. I think some people will be ready to tell us that we're stupid and have no idea what we're talking about. And those people can eat shit. But pepper jack, please. Give me that pepper jack.
You said cheese. I say yes. I think it is definitely dependent on what you're having them on. But if I have to lean one way without any other context, I'm probably going pepper jack because I'm a spicy boy.
Yeah, you are a spicy boy. Oh, man. Guys, everybody who's tuned in right now, thank you very much. It has been a long show. We had a lot of news that happened today. A lot of that news kind of affected the way this mock draft, I feel like it went. So thank you for hanging around. I mean, 2+ hours that you guys are here with us. Time is the most valuable thing that you have. So anytime that you give some of it to us, we're forever grateful. I'm going to give Evo one last word, then we're going to get the fuck out of here. We'll be back Tuesday. We're going to start position breakdowns coming up into the next week as we roll into the NFL draft. But with that, Evo, go ahead and take it away, brother.
Yeah, so two things. One, is it pet smart or pets smart? You let us know in the comments. But secondly, and more importantly and closer to home for us, we normally talk about Red Fridays and things like that with the military. Remember, everyone deployed. I think people forget a lot of times that we have service members who are deployed actually in combat and things like that. The Philippines is going on, the Africa is going on, all sorts of stuff's going on. But because we're not in a traditional war, people forget about that. And they probably won't be forgetting about it because if you aren't aware and you're somehow under a rock, we have combat operations going on with Iran right now. We've already lost some service members. Obviously, we pray that everyone makes it home safe and sound. I don't care if you are on the left or the right or the center or anywhere in between. The politicians aren't the ones fighting the wars. It's your service members out there. No shade towards them at all, please. Like, they are doing what they are being ordered to do, regardless of your thoughts, pro or con on the situation. Pray for their safe return, pray for their success, and remember them every day, not just on Fridays. Remember everyone deployed.
Evo, well said. To everybody who is headed over there, get the job done, get it done quick, get home. We cannot wait to have you guys home. We wish you the best. I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is Raw Dog Sports. We'll see you guys next week. See you.